Hi everyone, I'm Betsie Milne from Sayon in Kimberley, and as we are celebrating South Africa's wetlands today, I am honoured to be presenting on a very unique organism that is found in a very special kind of wetlands in the country. And these are the branchiopods of the Northern Cape pans. So today I'll be presenting some of the very unique discoveries we've made over the past 4 years, and I'll also be sharing a little bit of the journey that led to these awesome discoveries. The Northern Cape pans are special in the sense that they occur in the most arid regions of South Africa, where rainfall is far less than 400 millimeters per annum, and the annual evaporation is over 2,000 millimeters. They are ephemeral systems, which means that their aquatic phase is only lasting for a very short period of time, but they differ from your typical seasonal wetlands in the more mesic provinces by being wet only every few years to every few decades. In fact, some of the pans that I sampled were last inundated in the 1980s. They also occur at very high densities, with over 20,000 pans in the province that have been formally mapped, which makes the Northern Cape the province with the most ephemeral wetlands in the country. Furthermore, these pans are extremely diverse in terms of their size, geomorphology, soil characteristics, geochemistry, vegetation, as well as wetland hydrology. As you can see here, some examples of the pans that I sampled over the past few years, they are quite different from each other. So they are not your typical textbook wetlands, and therefore they have been vastly neglected in research efforts. This is primarily because the climate offers very rare opportunity for the pans to be studied, and also their remoteness makes them hard to access. And this is also why they are not clearly defined in our legislation. Many of the legal eagles find clever ways and loopholes to still motivate development to take place in or near the pans. And these excellent wetland assessment guidelines that we do have available don't currently actually cater for these wetlands, as they primarily rely on descriptors like plants, fish, and insects. But take, for example, this pan on the Gar Plateau. By the looks of it, you wouldn't typically regard this as a very special wetland. Indicators specified for wetlands are not applicable here, so they are often completely missed or undervalued during assessment protocols. However, these pans host very unique descriptors, and they are known as the branchiopods. It's a crustacean, and they are commonly just referred to as shrimps. Their eggs lie dormant in the soil, and as soon as the pan fills with water, these eggs hatch out and they rapidly mature to produce the next generation. What you're looking at here on the left is a colony of fairy shrimps, which I was able to sample on the Gar Plateau earlier this year in February, just before the lockdown. Just a few examples of branchiopods. We have the large branchiopods, including the tadpole shrimp, the clam shrimp, and the fairy shrimp. But the water flea, much smaller, is also included as a branchiopod. Most of my study actually focused on the large branchiopods. Branchiopods also play a crucial role in the food web by attracting a diversity of water birds. And through this, they essentially form a very important stepping stone corridor in vast arid landscapes. However, due to the ongoing lack of understanding about these systems, there have been various different ongoing impacts allowed to take place on these pans over the last century, which have severely compromised the ecological functioning of these pans. Just a few examples you can see here is it's a salt pan, which is a typical scene in the Northern Cape. This pan has been completely destroyed by evaporation ponds that have been built across the pan. Then damming or excavation into the pan surface helps with retention of water. Alluvial diamond mining, typical of the Upper Karoo. And in the Bushman land, this is also quite typical. The farmers like to plow the pan surface to increase infiltration rates, but also to create trap sites where the plant seeds will then fall into to increase the browsing capacity of their land. Recreational driving or recreational sports, people like to drive around in the mud. Then they also use the flat surface and hard surfaces of the pans for land speed racing. Prosopis has been a huge problem, infestation in the Bushmanland, also Kalahari region. And then farm fences as well as cropland. When the pans get wet, they actually try to plant some crops in there. And it wasn't until recently, when more controversial developments began creeping into the province, that this need to gain a better understanding on the pans became more desperate. So SAION launched the Northern Cape's Pans project in 2016 with a postdoc grant, which I received. And then we also received funding from the FPIP in terms of a small grant, a small project grant. And then this fully enabled our project to go ahead. But obviously, working in very remote areas came with many obstacles. Getting landowners' permission was really challenging, and I actually got chased off a property once by a farmer. I also ended up in countless amounts of locked gates. And then in these modern times, you really need to know how to navigate without network coverage. Also, traveling across such a vast province on mainly gravel roads, you are bound to get many flat tires, sometimes 2 in one day. So you really need to plan for these events. And of course, what is pan research without getting stuck at least once on a sneaky, permanently saturated salt pan? But over the past 4 years, I was very happy to sample a total of 23 wet sites. Obviously, we knew from the beginning that we might not be able to get wet sites, so most of this project still focused around collecting dry soil samples. I was able to sample 98 different sites, and then I performed various lab protocols to get species information. I performed extensive hatching experiments using high-tech facilities at the KU Leuven University in Belgium, for which I received a scholarship. And then you can see some of the fairy shrimps that hatched out in that small little video clip. These were then reared to adults in order to identify them. I also extracted eggs from the soil by using a standard sugar flotation method. This is especially helpful because each shrimp egg has unique morphological characteristics specific to individual species. So this really helped with filling up gaps in the distribution records. In total, we sampled 113 sites across 4 different regions where pans are most abundant in the province. This is the Kalahari, the Bushmanland, Upper Karoo, and the Kaap Plateau. And after all these various protocols that we ran, we still only left with 8 sites that didn't provide us with any species information. So overall, we truly believe that this was a successful effort. We found 37 different species of branchiopods in the province, of which fairy shrimps and water fleas were the most diverse. The study contributed 180 new distribution records. 5 of these were new range extensions, and then on top of that, 5 new species were discovered. I'm obviously not going to be sharing all of this information, and today I just decided to focus on the very special discoveries that we've made. Probably the most well-known, most of you might have seen the different newsletters that were going around, was the discovery of Pumuli Branchiopus deserti for the first time in South Africa on Haksken Pan. It was also the second recording ever after it was discovered in Namibia in 1986. But only after recently processing my egg extraction data, I found these eggs also in 13 different localities in the Kalahari. So they seem to be quite common in that region, but in South Africa, they are still restricted to the Kalahari. Then Branchiopod coakensis was also for the first time discovered in South Africa, where it was found only once on the Gap Plateau. This species was discovered in 1926 in Namibia and was also never before collected until now. Branchiopod caruensis, originally collected in 1917 near Prince Albert, and was now for the first time found in the Northern Cape, which is also the second ever recording of this species. Then Branchiopod hutchinsoni, it was discovered in 1990 near Hutchinson in the Northern Cape, and we now found it twice again. So it seems to be a Northern Cape endemic. Leptosteria straticonca, it's a clam shrimp. It's been found before in Gauteng, Free State, as well as the Eastern Cape. We just now found it for the first time in the Northern Cape. And then the new species, which we are still currently describing, I'm not going to reveal too much information, but I'll just like to share a little bit with you, and just to share with you the different genera that we found. So we've got a new Branchiopod species, which is restricted to the Brandtvlei region in the Bushmanland. And then we have a Streptocephalus species, which was found in the Bushmanland as well as the Upper Karoo. What makes this species special is the fact that we normally use male indicators to identify the species, but now we found morphological characteristics of the female that makes it different from other species. Then we also found a new Phyllocryptus species. It was found in the Bushmanland and Upper Karoo. And then we also discovered two new Eulumnadia species in the province. These are two clam shrimp species. And what makes Eulumnadia different is that the actual geomorphological characters of the adult specimens are very difficult to tell apart. So we use these eggs as the specific indicators to identify the species. As you can see from the map on the left, the species is quite common, but it's restricted to the Upper Karoo and the Gap Plateau, which is basically the eastern part of the Northern Cape, but it still remains to be a Northern Cape endemic. And then the species on the right was found in the Upper Karoo as well as in the Eastern Cape Karoo. Now, I didn't sample any species in the Eastern Cape. This species was collected by, or the specimen was collected by Anna Mabidi a few years ago. But we now also found it in the Northern Cape, and we are now describing the species and writing it into a publication. So these discoveries and the large amount of new distribution records are really an incredible breakthrough for biodiversity research on the Northern Cape Bands. And of course, none of it would have been made possible without the support of a strong collaboration network. Therefore, I'm truly thankful for the role that each of these institutions, as well as the landowners, played in this collective effort. And it just goes to show that when you work as a group together, even the most impossible task is actually possible. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I also hope that you will be helping me spread the news now and the awareness on how special these arid wetlands really are. Thank you.